So, Aaron, you were the costume designer of A Star Is Born. It's the fourth iteration of this story. And I'm curious for you, as the costume designer, with this new interpretation of the story, what were you trying to tell through your costumes? What story were you trying to tell through the clothing you designed for these two characters?
I think it was pretty much the biggest challenge, and the thing that I was paying most close attention to was being able to tell a character arc of Allie's character. So I kind of knew beforehand, and I had kind of a sketch in my head as to where I wanted her to start, where I saw her at the pinnacle, at the top, and then where I kind of wanted her to end. And so um, I kept kind of pinpointing those points in the storyline and making sure that I sort of hit them as far as her character's clothing went. Whether it was, oh, she's traveling on the road now with Jack and she must be thrifting along the way, and it's his crowd, so there's a little bit of a Western crowd. And for the beginning, going into, and she starts to become more of a pop star, and oh, she's some stylist must be bringing her some pieces, and more outrageous pieces. And then, finally kind of to the end where she, I don't know, sort of hones in and becomes sort of an elegant, the elegant end.
Right. Well, tell us a little, I mean, just dive in a little bit more if you could. I mean, first of all, knowing that you were going to design clothing for Lady Gaga, did that put any pressure on you having to, work for this great fashion icon?
Maybe for a minute I had some intimidation, but I think that I'm doing what I've been doing for a very long time, and it was the same process that I did with her as I did with that I've done with other actors in the past. And so um, I think that the fun part was being able to connect with Stephanie, on a fashion level, and whether it was we were joking around about clubs in New York City in the late '90s or the early O's, or we were joking about, different things. I think it was fun to be able to use all of these sort of fashion, music and fashion references that we would have a laugh about.
Um, Take us through the arc of her character a little bit, if you could. Just tell us, like, from the very beginning, what your idea was for her when you first see her, and just kind of the ways that you charted that out, how
Sure.
you developed that towards the end.
Well, when we first meet Allie, she is an almost non-existent pretty much like given up hope. She's given up hope on breaking into the music world. She's had the door shut in her face before. She's been told that it's not going to work. And when we meet her, she performs for fun in the drag bar, and they give her a special slot just because she is who she is, and no other girls get that spot. But she's hardworking. She lives with her dad still. She's got a crappy boyfriend. She's trying to be. She is as normal of a person as we could possibly imagine. Um, Other than the fact that she's insanely talented and can write and sing songs like nobody's business. So I think when we meet her, the idea was that we wanted to, and this was probably the most exciting and fun um, moment for me to design, because it was really, I wanted to just remove as much Gaga as I could, and she was so down. Stephanie was so down to do it and wanted to do that, and so we kind of were inspired by very normal, very regular, but cool kind of street fashion, and taking our cues from like a strong but sexy woman who who is as regular and normal as we could be. And so just finding something that looked good and worked on her body and worked for the character was like the thing. And first it was finding the silhouette and and then going from there.
In terms of things like color, for instance, I mean, did you have like ideas for that to, show mood or tone or things like that?
I would say that was that my um, did you hear my email go off?
No, no,
Sorry.
no, you're fine. I can hear you. You're fine.
Okay. Okay. Hold on. Um, yeah, I think for color, it wasn't a color palette that I per se that I painted for it. I mean, I think we with a lot of movies, I'll have a color palette for each character, and I really keep them in a very strict color palette. I don't think Allie really had that. I mean, she had 53 changes in the movie. She had 53 outfits planned, and we probably had 4 outfits for every one that you saw on film. So just to be in prep of, backup options. So there was a lot of clothing. It was from time periods of a year, of a place, of a date, it took place over quite a bit of time. So it moved as far as that energy goes. I knew for, when we were at Jack's house, I knew we kind of wanted to keep it neutral toned and creams and whites and simple tones. And, I was really kind of focused on this blue for Allie's end dress, where she wears this. It's kind of like it's like a pastel blue, but it sort of has a little bit of green tones in it, and it was based on this Grace Kelly dress that I had seen, through research, and it was. I sort of knew that was like the color, the sort of hopeful color that I wanted to use in that scene. But I think in general, there were specific color moments, but not sort of palette stories necessarily.
Right. In terms of Bradley's character, Jackson Maine, first of all, having somebody who is both the director and the lead actor, is that a situation you've ever found yourself in before?
It is not, but it's surprisingly streamlined. I mean, if you imagine it, it's just like one less person to get an approval from.
Right.
But I had worked with Bradley before as an actor, so I think we kind of had a shorthand in some ways, and it was very easy to pick out what he would resonate with, and I think I understood what he wanted pretty quickly, and we kind of knew that if we figured out Jackson Maine's character and clothing in the beginning, he wasn't going to have a very big arc, and actually we wanted to keep him pretty consistent, to let her arc really flow, and go places. We kind of kept him in a uniform. We almost imagined that he just, it was too much for him to really even care about clothing and getting dressed. And, he's just the guy that rolls out of bed. He looks incredibly sexy and really great, but it's not something he tries at, and it's not something he's, working very hard at. And so we thought of his costumes, his closet as more of a uniform than anything else.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I could imagine him in something other than black jeans and a black button-down shirt. I mean, he does sort of wear that, I guess, Johnny Cash looks pretty well.
So. Exactly.
Tell us a little bit more about, I mean, you mentioned the amount of costumes that you had to make for this. Can you just fill us in a little bit about the practicality of doing a movie on this scale and having, all of the multiples and things like that? I mean, how do you, keep track of that sort of stuff? How do you tackle that and, do it economically?
Yeah. Great question. This wasn't a huge budget movie. It wasn't one of those movies where you have enough money to build in your multiples and build in your purchases and properly shop for everything you need. I mean, the great thing about Lady Gaga is she does enable you to open up doors, and when you say, hey, can we borrow something for this film, a lot of people are willing to do so. The the more challenging part was the multiples for certain scenes that we would need. And like, for example, the gold Gucci dress that she wears for the Grammys when she wins the Grammy. We needed multiples of that because she, following that scene, she gets into the shower with Jack when he's having his meltdown. And, we needed to be able to reset on that one pretty quickly. And so, we had planned on a different dress, and right beforehand, we wanted to go with this gold one. And so we quickly called up Gucci and just said, hey, can you guys make us another? Because all these are one-off pieces. We said, hey, can you guys make us another one like in 4 days? In Italy, and then have it to us, by then. And they were great, and they turned it around, and they did make us another one. And so I did have a lot of great help from people. I mean, not everybody was so willing to be so helpful and so production friendly, but they were particularly awesome.
Right.
A lot of people were. There was a lot of wonderful designers that were willing to help us, and then a lot of wonderful clothing makers in town, like Muto and Little, and my in-house seamstress and everybody that we were building. I mean, all of her robe that she wears in the house, and the outfits that a lot of the outfits she wears in the house, we made and built. Johanna Ortiz. We have that fun 2-piece outfit where she's when she's coming home and she has the big fight with Jack. Yeah, there's a lot of outfits.
I think that with a contemporary film like this, there's a misunderstanding amongst people who think that perhaps that it's easier to design clothing for a contemporary film than for a period. I mean, you've worked in both. So can you just enlighten us a bit about how challenging it is?
So much harder to do contemporary, in my opinion, than period. I've done proper period now twice. Mm-hmm. The 1700s and then the 60s, 1917 and 1960. In both experiences, it was so much easier because you have so much less conjecture from people, and it's so much easier to believe in the clothing and in the character because you've separated by so many decades. People don't nitpick every single element of it. Your contemporary clothing, everybody has an opinion about it. Every director, every actor, every audience member, everybody has their, they put their own ideas on, right now you're wearing a striped button-down collared shirt and a maroon cardigan. I'm going to make ideas.
Yeah. To say the least, yeah. I mean, I interviewed someone who has your profession once, and she said, at a certain point, just about everybody has a uniform at a certain age. So, and it says something about, I guess, who you are from what you wear. So.
I think I agree with that. I think it's true.
Yeah. Well, Erin, thank you so much. Congratulations on your work on the film, and thank you for your time.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Have a good one.